G'day, Oliver from Williamson Partners here with a JobKeeper update. Last Wednesday, the Parliament passed the framework legislation which enabled the Treasurer to make the rules for the JobKeeper scheme. On Thursday, the Treasurer legislated the rules which will be administered by the Australian Taxation Office, and yesterday the Taxation Office provided some guidance around the operation of the scheme. So the main points: to be eligible for a business with turnover of less than $1 billion, you need to have a reduction in turnover of 30%. Turnover is defined as GST turnover, which is defined in the GST Act. This can be your current GST turnover or your projected GST turnover. To meet the turnover test, when you enrol in the JobKeeper program, you need to confirm that your business in a relevant period has had or is likely to have the required fall in turnover. You can use the actual GST turnover for a period or the projected GST turnover for a period. Now, GST turnover is all the taxable supplies that you and GST-free supplies that you make in a period. So it would appear to be coming back to more of an accruals basis to test turnover. But the ATO has said they will provide further guidance. Once the test is satisfied, you do not need to retest in later periods. So once you're in, you're in. Now, there's 9 test periods available and you can choose which one you like. Now, there are the months from March through to September, so you can test in any one of those individual months, or you can test the April to June quarter or the July to September quarter. But note, you only receive payments for fortnights that start in the relevant test period when you qualify and for future periods. So if you tested in June, the month of June, you would only be eligible for the fortnights ending in June and beyond. You can't go backwards. So to be eligible for the first fortnight, which is the 30th of March, you can either compare your GST turnover, actual turnover for March 2020 with the GST turnover in March 2019, your projected GST turnover for April 2020 with the GST turnover for April 2019, or your projected GST turnover for April to June quarter 2020 with the actual GST turnover in April to June 2019. You can choose to test monthly or quarterly regardless of how you report on your BASs. So if you are a quarterly reporter, you can use a monthly test. If you're a monthly reporter, you can use a quarterly test. There will be ongoing monthly reporting requirements, including monthly turnover, projected turnover, eligible employees, which we'll get to later on. The ATO also says they will allow some alternative tests to establish eligibility for certain businesses in certain circumstances. So, for example, seasonal businesses or those that have made acquisitions. Now, eligible employees are those employees that were employed at 1 March 2020 and are still employed by the business during the relevant JobKeeper fortnight. So these include full-time employees, part-time employees, casual employees with 12 months or more service, and they must have been employed on a regular and systemic basis. Must be at least 16 years old on the 1st of March. They must be Australian or New Zealand citizens or permanent residents. They cannot be receiving paid parental leave or dad and partner pay, and they cannot be receiving workers' compensation payments and be unable to work. they also have to agree to be nominated by the business. Now, sole traders are eligible, and so are business participants if they're actively engaged in one of the following structures. So, one partner per partnership, one director or shareholder per company, and one adult beneficiary per trust can be nominated to be an employee as long as they're actively engaged in the business. Employees that were stood down or without pay under the Fair Work Act can be eligible. You will need to pay the employees the minimum $1,500 per fortnight before you make your claim. Terminated employees are eligible if they were terminated after the 1st of March and you re-engage them. You need to pay the employee at least the minimum $1,500 per fortnight for each claim, confirm they want to be rehired and participate in the JobKeeper scheme. You can only claim for the fortnight they were re-engaged and forward. You can't claim retrospectively for any employees that you re-engage. Now, you can enrol in the program, or the scheme I should say, from the 20th of April 2020. Now, to do this, you register your interest and subscribe to the JobKeeper payment updates on the ATO website, which you've probably already done. Check you and your employees meet the eligibility requirements. Continue to pay $1,500 at least to each eligible employee per JobKeeper fortnight. The first JobKeeper fortnight is the period from 30 March to 12 April. You need to notify your eligible employees that you're intending to claim for the JobKeeper payment on their behalf and check that they aren't claiming the JobKeeper payment through another employer or have been nominated through another business. You need to send each JobKeeper employee a nomination notice, and there's a link to the ATO website where you can get the form. You need to send these to the employees and have them complete and return it to you by the end of April if you intend to claim for the JobKeeper payment for April. You keep it on file and send us a copy, please. From the 20th of April, you can enrol for the JobKeeper payment using the business portal and authenticate with MyGov ID. You must do this by the end of April to claim JobKeeper payments for April. We can also do this on your behalf, but you need to speak to us specifically about that. In the online form, you provide your bank details and indicate you're claiming an entitlement based on a business participation, for example, if you're a sole trader or a partner in a partnership, etc. You specify the estimated number of employees who will be eligible for the JobKeeper fortnight, 30 March to 12 April, and the second JobKeeper fortnight, 13 April to 26 April. So that's the enrolling process, and you must do that before the end of April. If you don't think you're going to meet the eligibility criteria, you can enrol at a later date. It just means you will only become eligible for payments for JobKeeper fortnights going forward. You won't get it backdated to 30 March. You then apply for the scheme from the 4th of May. You need to apply for the JobKeeper payment by logging into the ATO business portal, or again, we can do this on your behalf, but you need to contact us directly. Ensure you have paid each eligible employee a minimum of $1,500 per fortnight before tax. Identify your eligible employees in the application form online by selecting the employees that are pre-filled from the single touch payroll data, or manually entering employee details in the online form, or engaging us to do this on your behalf. You submit the confirmation of your eligible employees online and wait for a confirmation email or SMS. You notify your eligible employees you have nominated them. The ATO will pay you the JobKeeper payment for all eligible employees after receiving your application. Now, each month you will need to reconfirm that your reported eligible employees have not changed. You will also you do not need to retest your reported turnover, but you will need to provide some additional information such as current and projected turnover. This is all going to be done in a thing called the JobKeeper Declaration Report. So every month you do a JobKeeper Declaration Report. You tell them, these are all my employees that are still with me. This is how much my turnover has been. This is how much I think it's going to be going forward. If any of your employees change or leave your employment, you need to notify this on the JobKeeper Declaration Report. Now, importantly, we're happy to assist you, but considering the number of people that will be eligible, I think in the first instance, you should attempt to go through the application processes yourself. If you want us to do this, happy to help. You will need to contact us directly and engage us to do that. If you're going to do it yourself, you need to use the ATO business portal and you will need a MyGov ID. Your MyGov ID is not the same as your MyGov account. There's a link in the email that will take you to a place on the ATO website where you can start the process of setting up your MyGov ID. If you're going to do it yourself, it's important that you get on with this. You've got 5 days before you can enrol, so you really need to get moving on this. Now, you can opt out of the scheme at a later date, and if you are using the projected turnover test, you need to have some documentary evidence and some methodology in working out how you've projected your turnover. You need a more than likely balance of probabilities approach to justifying why you think your turnover is going to fall 30%. There are integrity provisions in the legislation which are aimed at stopping people gaming the system or just being outright fraudulent. There's a link to the ATO website which provides some more in-depth information. I encourage you to have a read through that. On Friday, 17th of April at 4 p.m, I'm going to host a Zoom webinar and do a Q&A session just to answer any specific questions that you may have. Could you please email me prior to then any particular questions that you have so I can hit the most common and popular questions so we can try and cover off as many as possible. There's a link in the email. Just click on the link to join the webinar at 4 p.m. on Friday.